This regular meeting of the Aurora Board of Education is called to order. Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Allison, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis,
Here.
Mrs. Dolzy,
Here.
Mrs. Connor,
Here.
Mr. Aiken,
Here.
Mr. Cebulski. Here.
All right, this evening, before we start with the recognition of our Rotary students, I wanted to ask Mary to come up. We have just a little something.
Pardon?
We have a little something for you. Come up. And not much. No. How much?
Hard to break them up.
Wait, this is Jerry's block and gavel, and we have many fun and funny memories of him playing it. At the most inopportune time. I think we wanted you to have it. I thought myself, when I asked Mike if I really had to have one, he said I did. You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, now we'll move on to the recognition of our Rotary students, those being Marissa and Brescia and Derek Gordon, and I'll ask Mr. Abramovich to come up and introduce them. Oh, first we need a motion, right? Second, please. Mr. Paulson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis.
Yes.
Mr. Aiken,
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzy.
Yes.
Anyways, thank you, Ms. Mahalis and Board of Education. Our two students of the month this week. We always have outstanding students that come up here. And these two students that are so involved in many things, both in and out of school, especially outside of school, are two individuals that, as I've said to them, if you did not recognize them, they would say, that's okay, it's all right if others do it. And yet they're just two outstanding individuals who at Harmon Middle School, we say to do the right thing, and they do it every single day from 6th grade to 7th grade to 8th grade. I'm so proud of what they do, and even when I told them, they're like, really? And it's like they almost want to say, no, let someone else do it. Because yeah, I'm just doing this is what I'm supposed to do. But they're wonderful individuals, so positive, and every day go about their business and stay focused with it. And their teachers just jumped at the chance to say, we have two great individuals. And so I couldn't disagree one bit with them, because as we bring up our lists, they were on my list too. So it's really neat when the teachers and I are all on the same page. So I'm gonna let them talk about themselves more than I can, but I'm so proud to introduce our two individuals today. So if they could please come on up here, Marissa and Brescia and Derek Gordon. Let's start off with Marissa.
Hello, my name is Marissa Brescia and I'm an 8th grader at Harmon Middle School. I want to say thank you to everyone for giving me this opportunity to speak to you today. Also, a huge thank you to my teachers for nominating me as Rotary Student of the Month. I'm so thankful to be speaking here in front of all of you and so happy to have the opportunity to represent Harmon Middle School as the Rotary Student of the Month. Thank you to the Rotary Club along with the Board of Education for giving me this award, and to my teachers for helping me learn new things every day. Also, a big thank you to my parents for supporting me in every way possible. Being at Harmon Middle School these last few years has been an amazing fun time. I am so appreciative of my teachers, family, and friends for supporting me throughout these years. There are many things that make me who I am. I love to dance and play softball. These activities keep me energized and always put me in a good mood. Also, every Monday I attend PSR class, and I'm preparing to make my confirmation this May. Additionally, I love being with my family and my friends. Being with my family makes me the most cheerful. I love that every Sunday my family gets together and we have dinner. Since I'm half Italian, we have pasta almost every Sunday, and I'm okay with that. Family dinner makes me the happiest girl on earth. If only I could be with my entire family every day. Every day I go into school and start my day off with a positive attitude. I love to be able to go to school every day and see all my friends. and my amazing teachers. I was so lucky to be able to meet new friends this year and become close with them. The greatest thing that brings joy to me while being at school is how every one of my teachers have such positive attitudes. It just makes the day better. Some of my favorite classes are language arts and math. I like these two subjects because I feel like I can understand them the best. Also, they are very helpful for the future. I normally never pick favorites, but my teachers, Mrs. Seidel and Ms. Martell, always bring a smile to my face. They both have helped me greatly improve my grades. I am so happy to be able to have them as my teachers this year. In the future, I want to be able to go to a 4-year college. I want to be able to experience college life and don't want to miss out. I intend to end school with great success. When I'm older, I want to become an interior designer. I'd love to decorate and design different things. I want to be able to help others just like the Rotary Club does, for other people all around over the world. Many things have inspired me, and I want to share those with you. My teachers inspire me by always being kind to me and always being able to teach me new things each day. My cousins and also my aunt and uncle always inspire me with their constant support. My greatest inspiration are my parents and siblings. I have 2 brothers that are able to watch over me whenever they can. My one brother was able to make my dream come true, watching him play out on the baseball field, wishing I was the one playing out there. As I got older, I was brave enough to try out for the softball team. I practiced with my brother for days. He taught me so many moves that I was impressed with myself. After that, I went out on the field and gave it my best shot. Just like that, I made the team. My other brother helped me get through hard times that I was not able to control by myself. Luckily, he was there to give me some good advice. And of course, my parents. They are incredible people. They are always able to count on me and are continuously proud of me. I'm so thankful they gave me the life of success. Since they are always there for me, I'll always be there for them. I wanted to share some quotes that I live by. The first one is go to the positive instead of waiting for the positive. Another quote is being positive brings happiness. And my last one is confidence is my most human ability. These quotes have never helped me more as they have done for me during middle school. I will always love the idea to help others at any time, just like the Rotary Club. They are always there for one another. They support our world just like we all should. Again, thank you.
And next up will be Derek Gordon.
Hello everyone, I am Derek Gordon, an 8th grader at Harmon Middle School. I would like to start off by thanking the Board of Education for listening to me this evening, the Rotary Club, my teachers for supporting me, and my family. Mainly my parents, Christy and Michael, for being so supportive of me. They have been so helpful and influential in everything I do, and I know that they are one of my motivations to keep doing well. This honor is even more special because I learned what the Rotary Club does for people all over the world, yet they are recognizing me. I respect my teachers so much because now I'm finding out how they really feel about me. Currently, I'm an 8th grade student at Harmon Middle School. My 2 favorite subjects are science and math. They are my favorite subjects because they are easy and enjoyable for me. I'm in Honors A in Grade 1 Math, which is a 1-year accelerated 9th grade course. Some activities in school that I am doing are orchestra and track. I'm doing orchestra because I enjoy it. I'm about to start track because I really enjoy running, and I think it could help me with soccer. Outside of school, I play on 2 soccer teams, Aurora United and Evolution, and I just started personal training. I really enjoy the sport and want to get better at it, so I'm trying to get a lot of practice. I also enjoy playing video games because they're just fun to play. Lastly, I enjoy water activities because they can be very fun once you get better. At 14 years old, my future is wide open, but for now, my goal is to make the high school soccer team. This is one of my goals because I just love soccer, and I want to get to the highest level possible, where it would be more competitive and fun. I will also be joining the high school track team because of the challenge it brings, and I'm a fast runner. I'm going to go to college, but I don't know what college I'm going to go to yet. I'm thinking about doing a job that mostly involves math or science, maybe both because they are my 2 favorite subjects. Thank you again for taking the time to provide me with this opportunity and for hearing about who I am. It is an honor to be voted Rotary Student of the Month.
Thank you, students. That no doubt will be the highlight of the meeting. And now I'll just give you a break if you want to leave. The time you're welcome to stay.
You got it? Yep. Sure.
All right, no one signed the comment sheet in the back, so we have no public comment this evening. We'll move on to the approval of minutes. We have the organizational meeting of January 6th and the regular meeting of January 11th. May I have a motion? Chair seconds. Are there any comments or edits to those minutes? Mr. Policy, please read.
Mr. Aker?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Sobowski? Yes. Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mrs. Dozey?
That will move into the superintendent and assistant superintendent.
Well, thank you. Paul and I are going to yield the floor here in just a minute, but I first kind of wanted to set you up for what we're going to be talking about today, and that is taking a look at an update for our reporting system at Craddock for first and second grade called Gather. I shared a sheet with you, actually two sheets. One of them is from first grade, the other one is from second. And the way we have this set up is on the one side, if you were to like open this up, you'd see the gathered feedback that a parent received about its individual child. And then on the right-hand side is the same child if they would have had a traditional report card. So you get a chance to kind of see the difference between what a traditional report card might look like in standard space versus the feedback that's happening in Gather. And then on the front page, so that you can see them together, we did the same thing for math. So math Gather's on top, math traditional is on the bottom. And so you have a first grade packet and a second grade packet for that. So just giving that to you to have as your reference. But you've heard Paul and I talk about Gather quite a bit as we've been going through this process and giving you updates. But I thought it would be better to bring in, we have two folks here today, so if they don't mind coming up, Jen Miller and Kara Morelos. Jen and Kara are academic coaches, and they not only bring a view from a pedagogical standpoint in terms of the impactfulness of Gather, but also last year when we went into pandemic mode, they went back into the classrooms. And so they actually used this for a whole year and through part of this pilot before everybody in first and second grade had the chance to then use this for the first year. So Jen and Kara are going to share a little bit of their perspective from both of those angles. So Jen and Kara, we're going to turn the floor back over to you guys.
Thank you for having me this evening. My name is Jen Miller and I'm the district literacy coach, and I wanted to be here this evening to talk about one of the most impactful, exciting initiatives I've ever been a part of in Aurora City Schools. I debated long and hard whether I wanted to just speak from the heart or read my speech that I prepared, but I think I'm going to do a mix of both, because 5 years ago, I remember working with a team of teachers, and we were forcing ourselves to come up with a 5-point quiz on theme. After many failed attempts and bashing our heads thinking, why aren't we able to write these questions to capture whether or not we know what our students know about theme, we realized that it did not capture the amazing things that were happening in our classrooms every day. That 4 out of 5 that we would put at the top of their quiz could not even come close to represent what we really knew about our students. And what we thought is, are there other ways we could collect evidence and show parents a window into the insight of the thinking we get to see and hear from our students every single day? So out of that meeting, we decided that we wanted to think of different ways to collect evidence so that we could let students and parents know where their learner is and the next steps they needed to go in their learning progressions. And because of that, Gather, a narrative reporting system, became an important priority for us. I truly recognize the importance of narrative reporting when I went back into the first grade classroom for the first time in 9 years last year. And when I was thinking about this whole idea of what am I going to say about each young learner in my room, I thought, first I have to build a relationship. And I have to get to know each and every child in that room and know who they are as a reader, writer, scientist, historian, and mathematician. So in order to do so, I set up a learning environment that made it possible for them to read authentic texts, write authentically, talk about their reading and writing and their math thinking. And I was able to collect evidence through our conversations, through things they wrote, situations I put them in, listening to them read and taking notes anecdotally, quantitatively, looking at a piece of work that they completed. I decided to take all that information and force myself to communicate that to parents. So I approached it this way. I thought, well, Jen, if you're sitting at a table with a parent for a parent-teacher conference, what are the most meaningful, strategic things you could tell that parent to let them know you really care about their child and you know them as a reader, a writer, a mathematician, and as a learner. So that process and forcing myself to think that way allowed me to be so diagnostic in the classroom and not look at our curriculum as a one-size-fits-all, but how could I meet the needs of each learner in my room? And so I feel that by using the narrative reporting system, I was definitely able to know my learners at a level that I never dreamed I would know them. And I felt not only did I learn and grow every day from listening to their thinking, guess what? I got to have conversations with them about what I noticed. I got to give them timely feedback about next steps we could take so that these learners could grow each and every day. So I figured, well, that says a lot more to them than a 3 on the top of their paper. So it really meant a lot in the building relationships in my classroom, in the learning environment that I was able to design. And that definitely carried over to the relationships I had with the families in my room. I cannot tell you the amount of emails I would receive to say, thank you so much for getting the chance to know my child on such a deep level. I can't believe you noticed that when you had 23 other kids in the classroom. The parents were so receptive and willing to take on some of these conversations at home because they knew the next steps for their child and their learning. So not only did I build a better relationship with the learners in my room, the families in my room, but we built that homeschool connection that really still stands true to this day. I'm still getting messages from some of my students and some of my parents. So I wanted to share that because those are some real world experiences that I just have meant so much to me and helped me reflect on what it is to be somebody who matters in the lives of kids. With that being said, I went way off script, so I'm just gonna go with it. With that being said, after reflecting on that year-long process, I really do not feel I could ever go back to a 3-2-1 per subject area and feel like I'm doing my due diligence in communicating to parents honestly and transparently about how well I know their child. Not only did that help with my classroom environment, it helped me become a better teacher and a better collaborator on my PLC teams. So in our PLCs with the other first grade teachers, I was able to notice a shift in the conversation. The conversation went away from, Did you give the quiz yet? How many did each kid score? Or what question did they really struggle with? To, hey, I have some kids that are really struggling to pull out evidence from a text and use that evidence to support their thinking. How can we change our instruction to meet their needs? The conversations became so deep and so rich and so meaningful. We grew as a whole team that year because we had to be diagnostic and targeted to meet the needs of the learners in our room. And that felt really great. I could give countless examples of how rich the conversations have been and how much we've forced ourselves to be better in our instruction to get kids what they need. I also wanted to talk about another thing that was impactful to me in my year back in the classroom, and that was my teacher evaluation. And I mean that in the sense of not going through all the paperwork, but I mean that in the sense of I was able to sit down with my building principal and she was able to give me anecdotal evidence of things I was doing well in the classroom and things that I could do to work on to grow as a teacher each and every day and get better for my learners. So she provided me very specific feedback that would help me keep doing the things I was doing well and push myself to grow as an educator every day. And I just thought through that experience that our learners deserve that experience. They deserve the experience to get this time and this feedback that's meaningful to them so that they can continue to grow in our classrooms every single day. Lastly, now that I'm back in my district role and I'm able to be in classrooms kindergarten through 8th grade, I have just realized the tremendous impact Gather has had at our elementary level. The Craddock teachers are the most diagnostic, targeted, reflective, collaborative group of teachers right now because they are all talking about learners and they are talking about what it means for us to grow every day and for our kids to grow every day. So I'm super proud of them. I'm super proud of them for taking on this initiative that is not always easy, but it is what is best for kids. It is what our kids, our families, and our educators and our community deserves from us, especially them being young learners. So with that all being said, do I have time or should I? I just want to say one other thing. I'm blessed to be a part of the Literacy Network of Northeast Ohio, and I get to facilitate that group, and we talk about all the best practices that are happening in Northeast Ohio. And one of my colleagues in the network, they're from everywhere in Ohio, he said to me, I showed the system, I was so excited and so proud of what we've created in this district that I showed it to them. And one of my colleagues said, it made him realize that although points and grades are simple and immediate, they are inadequate for giving our young learners meaningful feedback. And so that sparked a whole conversation at the network. And now they are wanting to take this to their districts because they really truly believe that this can bring their literacy instruction for all kids to the next level. I hope that you can feel my passion and enthusiasm for Gather. It has honestly and sincerely been one of the most impactful initiatives I've ever been involved in. And my experiences with Gather from the standpoint of a coach, a teacher, a parent in the district allows me to see the positive impact it has on our learners. They are taking risks, they are challenging themselves, they are growing and reflecting every day. And this impact will just go far beyond the walls of our classrooms. They're talking about it with their families. The families are excited about the connection with school. And I'm really proud and thankful for this opportunity. Thank you. This is Kara.
Hi, I'm Kara Morelos, the district math coach. I came from a background of 20 years of teaching first through third grade, and then I've just been in this role as a district math coach for a couple of years, considering last year I was back in the classroom as well due to the pandemic. So I'm also a huge proponent and advocate of the Gather reporting system. I mean, it's something that I think most teachers, if you ask them, would say there was a need for a long time. I mean, teachers have been hacking grades for the longest time. They knew where a child was at, they knew their observations, but points and grades didn't necessarily match with the whole child and what they were seeing and that mathematical understanding. They also would tell you there were times when they came to give someone a grade where they weren't sure exactly where that child was at with their mathematical understanding, and we need to eliminate that. And so some of the things we put in place is having teachers do math interviews. And we know that that's a powerful tool because so much of mathematical thinking is invisible and it's hidden by algorithms. So I can tell you that I have given probably hundreds of math interviews to kids from kindergarten through 8th grade. And I never cease to be surprised by what I find out through probing and asking how they solved a problem. That something can appear correct on the page and you would think, oh, this child has good understanding. And then you probe a little into, okay, explain to me how you did this. And then you ask, oh, what does this 1 stand for? Is this still a 1? Oh yeah, it's just a 1, but it's really a 10. Or 100, right? So we discover the layers of misconceptions when we have these interviews and we sit down and we talk to kids and have conversations. So that can be the problem with a written type assessment being our only tool and a grade being the only way that we show mathematical thinking for a child. The other great benefit of the Gather system, just like Jen was able to see, is that it made our teachers more diagnostic and it gave parents an idea of how to help their child. When I get a 3 or a 2 on the report card, do I know exactly what my child is struggling with and how I can pinpoint where to help them? We know children come with these innate understandings of mathematics when they come to school. They'll know if you have more M&Ms in this hand than this hand, they'll know, be able to identify quantities of 1 to 3 immediately. That's what we call subitizing. And those seem like very lowly type concepts, but those are critical for them to build on counting strategies, right? And if they can't count on, they can't develop derived facts. They can't know that 5 plus 6 is 11 because 5 plus 5 is 10. And then they can't just know facts. So Kathy Richardson is a notable person in the math community. She's done many years of research. She says, through many years of studying children and my research on how they develop mathematical concepts, I know it is essential for teachers to look closely at children's thinking and recognize the critical learning phases as children move through them if they are going to provide meaningful and effective instruction and ensure maximum learning for each child. So we know there are key areas we need to focus on to give our mathematicians a strong foundation. We know they need spatial relations, benchmarks of 5 and 10, 1 or 2 more or less, part, whole, place value. But the problem is that if we just do a paper pencil type format with points, then we do not see the thinking behind the task. And we know that through much research that children are often mimicking procedures in class. That's how we learned, right? We learned a procedure, we mimicked it. And mimicking is not thinking. And if we're not thinking, we're not seeking to understand. And that's gonna fall through at some point. So what I see in interviews, children who rely heavily on procedures, what will happen is they'll get to subtraction. They'll be able to do that with addition. They'll get to subtraction and it'll fall through. Well, guess what? If you can't subtract, then you won't be able to divide. If you can't divide, you're not gonna be able to understand fractions. And if you can't understand all of those operations, you won't have access to algebra. So those foundational understandings are critical. And so our kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade teachers are the foundation for all the success that our students will have in mathematics down the road. They need to be talking to kids and they need to be looking at more than just a written assessment with a point or a grade. So we also look at our behaviors of mathematicians. Well, just to give you an example too of the flexibility we want with our problem solvers, I'm just gonna give you a math problem. I'll have you think about 237 plus 199. And when we think about that problem, just think about how you would solve that for a minute. And so we have kids that are procedural that would plug this in and start to do an algorithm, right? But that would not be the most sophisticated way to think of this problem. We want them to use relational thinking and to think about, oh, 199 is really close to 200, so I can just add that to 237 and take away 1. So another example would be ask a middle schooler next time you see them with 8 times 7. A lot of times they'll tell you, I can't remember. But could they figure it out? And so if they're aware that that's 8 groups of 7, are they able to access that and say, oh, I know 7 groups of 7 is 49 and I just need to add 7 more. This is the relational thinking that we want, the complexity, the thinking, the problem solvers we want in our mathematicians. We want them to be critical thinkers. Children who understand number concepts know that numbers are used to describe quantities and relationships and are useful tools for getting information about the world they live in. They see relationships between numbers and can take numbers apart and put them back together without counting. They understand the structure of numbers and think numbers are made of groups of 10s and 1s or hundreds, 10s and 1s, and so forth. Students move from counting strategies to additive reasoning, to multiplicative reasoning, to proportional reasoning, and finally functional reasoning. Teachers need to know what to look for so they can design learning opportunities that build on a learner's mathematical understanding and help them get to that next level of sophistication. But these have to be constructed by the child. They need to be making those connections, not being told a procedure. And all of this web of understandings cannot be summed up in one grade or point value, but it can be described with supporting evidence. From all of the rich math conversations a teacher has with your child, those math interviews, the math running records on the fluency facts, in addition to written assessments and the behaviors of your child as a mathematician. Do they persist through challenges? Can they model a word problem efficiently? Do they utilize a math tool strategically? Can they justify their thinking and determine if they agree or disagree about the thinking of a peer? These are the standards of mathematical practice, which are key to our core curriculum. These are all the things we can report throughout the year in a narrative form that cannot be quantified in a letter grade or a number rating, and they are, as I said, the core of our math instruction. Furthermore, when students get a rating or a grade, they tend to associate that as their math identity. I got an A, I'm good at math. I got a C, I'm bad at math. That grade, though, is often not reflective of their potential as a mathematician. And it then takes away that message of what learning looks and sounds like, right? We want students to take risks. We want them to be vulnerable. Yet if they get a poor grade, they shut down and focus on the grade as something they cannot come back from. They are focused on the score, not the learning. As a parent of 3 children who has always had traditional report cards, I find very little to no value in the grades my children receive with 1 or 2 word comments. It does not tell me who they are as a learner and what understandings they have or what I can do to help them with their struggles. I dream of receiving a report card such as the one delivered by our 1st and 2nd grade teachers right now. Our grading systems are riddled with bias. Many teachers have different methods for calculating grades, thus making it not a true reflection of student learning. Using a narrative reporting system as a teacher really helped me to be more diagnostic and have a strong knowledge of where every student is at in my classroom. The more we know our students, the more effective we will be as instructors designing learning opportunities. I've had nothing but positive feedback as well. As Jen said, from the parents in my classroom, I actually sent out a survey to find out their feedback. They said, I really, really can see how you know my child. I have a window into how they are in the classroom and they're thinking, I know how to help my child now. These are powerful things that are going to improve learning and achievement. And just looking at that whole child as a human being.
Does anyone have any questions?
So, Paul, I think, why don't you, before, and don't leave, just in case there are questions, but Paul, why don't you talk a little bit about the survey, and then we'll finish up and take any questions.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, both Jen and Kara, for sharing your thoughts with us. So, board, you have the report that I wrote to you and was passed along last week. You can, I know you've had time to look at this, and you sort of skip to page 3 and 4, that's kind of where I summarize parent feedback. And so essentially, we're getting really positive views from the parents in this survey. First of all, about just the interface, about the software that Mr. Sands has designed, so that's outstanding. And then really positive, favorable views about the snapshots, about the narratives, and what it says about the learners and their progress in learning goals. Over 70% from the parents that responded. In terms of looking at Gather versus a traditional report card, it was about 53% saying that they prefer Gather, 29% saying traditional, then 18 sort of in this other realm. And if I know you can't see all the comments out there, but there are many parents in that group that sort of wanted some type of combination of feedback. We also asked about the combination of Gather with the trimester, which we're piloting, and really favorable views there. 41% strongly in favor, and really neutral to strongly in favor, 85%. So felt really good about that feedback and the direction that we're going. The one thing that I did mention in the last summary paragraph, we had plenty of positive feedback about the narratives, knowing the students and everything that Jen and Kira said, so I don't want to repeat that. The small number of concerns that were present were mostly about wanting something more concrete or quantitative that they're used to in terms of like a letter or number grade. So we've been reflecting as a team, how can we address some of those concerns to go along with all the positive feedback that we've received. So I think, Mike, that's what you kind of extended to talk about some of the adjustments we can potentially make as we move forward.
So the other piece that we did also do is we shared Gather with our Superintendent Advisory Council, and that's a group of about 30 folks from our community, including business as well as teachers and students and other folks. We asked them 4 things. What do you notice when comparing the two? They actually looked at the sheets that you guys had. What do you like about each? What would you like to see changed or added? And what did you prefer and why? So they did some great feedback that you'll be able to see, and I'm not going to get to that, give you a chance to see it. But basically from the adjustments that we were talking about from the parents, from the teachers and their feedback that we've been getting, and then from this group, we wanted to include what we're calling the learning progressions, which would be included above the narrative. The learning progressions are basically the goals or the standards that are kind of explained in like layman's terms, so you can kind of say, well, what is my child in second grade in mathematics really supposed to be doing, that sort of thing. So that's going to be inserted above the narrative so that they'll be able to kind of compare the narrative with what's happening with those learning progressions. And then each narrative, we're going to be sure that we kind of started out with your child has basically either met or have not yet met the goals from the learning progressions above, that sort of thing, so that they get a better, kind of clearer understanding of where their child is, and then they can read on to find out the details behind whether they've met and why, or whether they have not met yet and why. And so that's some of the adaptations that we're going to make for this third trimester to finish up the year. We're going into the second trimester. Sorry, yes, and we're finishing it up. Yes,
This one in March.
yes, and then to finishing up that year for the third. So we'll hopefully be able to get some more feedback at the end of the year about this. So with that being said, while Jen and Kira are here, any questions from the board? There's a lot. All right.
Well, I have a question. Do you find, I don't know, maybe this is a question for Mike or for Paul, but do you find that all the teachers write this much and this well? Because do you think they do?
Actually, yeah, we've worked closely with them, and so have Jen and Kara to help on narrative writing in terms of not a cut and paste, but a template. So, what is the level? Where do you see the learner right now? What evidence do you have for that? How can, what are we working on next? How can the parent help support that? So I'm not going to say that everybody, some people might have a slightly different vocabulary from someone else, but essentially the feeling of the narratives and what you're getting and the specific feedback is gonna look really pretty similar. And we've sort of spot check audited, I've read tons and tons of these, just kind of see what they look like. So yeah, for the
What did
most
you
part,
say
it's
about a
pretty
template?
similar. A template meaning like these are the
Do you
pieces.
give them a template, like, with each subject matter?
No, it's just that, what I basically just said, so early on level, you know, how do you know that, what's the evidence, you know, that kind of in the body where are we going next, what do they need to work? So just those basic, it's not it's more like a framework.
Yeah, we called it a anatomy of a good narrative.
So like their responses that they put into the gather system should be able to answer those questions.
That's correct.
And that was gonna be my question, was like how descriptive do you intend the feedback to be? Because in my experience with my own kids, and as somebody who has written feedback, like sometimes you want to know what your kids are good at, you want to know what they need to work on, but you also want to know what do they need to do in order to advance past what they can't do. You know, like if you're at a certain reading level and you're going to go to the next reading level, there are certain things you have to do in order to be successful at that next reading level. What are those things? And I know what those things are, but parents generally don't know those things. And I think that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, they are, and that's parents have actually stated in the feedback. So that's tough though. It's a tough balance because going back to last year when these two were in the classroom, some of the narratives got really long, like page or more, and it was just hitting people with a wall of text. And we said, okay, we have to really simplify and try to look back to that anatomy of good feedback and try to give them that piece that you're talking about at the end or later in the narrative. So what is that next step as a reader, as a writer, a mathematician? So is it going to tell the parent everything? No, but if they want to follow up, they can obviously follow up with an email.
And Jen and Karen, I don't know if you want to comment, but I mean, that's some of the things that you talk about being more diagnostic is the teachers are able to share with each other and grow and knowing what to identify from there and then how to share it out.
Absolutely. I put a lot of pressure on myself the first time I wrote these narratives, and they were a page long in text. I was having my husband proofread it. He said after 5 sentences he was out. So I knew a non-educator and my language was not going to work for this situation. So we really forced ourselves to work as PLC teams and grade level teams and say, these are the important pieces of information we need to include so that the parents in your room have a really clear, honest picture. This is where my learner is. These are the next steps for moving forward. And in reading, it would be, the reading and writing behaviors, and we would lay that out for them, but in a concise, parent-friendly manner. And that once we worked in PLC teams to make it concise and meaningful and in parent terms, it really, really made a huge difference, and the feedback was really great.
Any other questions? Thank you both.
Thank you.
That completes our report.
Thank you. This is treasurer's.
Thank you, Mrs. Morales. This evening I have 2 resolutions for the board's consideration. We'll start with the financial report, that being for the month of January. And in January, our expenditures exceeded revenues by about a little over $1.6 million, decreasing our general fund cash balance by $1.6 million 7 months into the fiscal year. Revenues were about 2.8% less than projected, and expenditures a little over 5% less. On the revenue side, January was the first month in which the district received its foundation funding through the new Fair School Funding Fund. Because of this, the unrestricted and restricted grants and aid were significantly different than normal because there's a catch-up in funding. So what had happened, if you want to look at, the best one to look at would be the month actual one, which would be the second spreadsheet. So North City School General Fund Financial for January FY22. So you can see our unrestricted grants and aid were $974,000. Typically, we've been getting between $350,000 to $400,000. So what this was a big catch-up, so the rest of the year are going to be kind of more back to normal. The same with the restricted. Now, more things are falling under restricted now with the new Fair School Funding Plan. Things such as wellness funding is now coming through this. Last year it came through Fund 467, so now it's pushed into the general fund. And we received about $180,000 in wellness funding. So we have to account for that for specific uses. So our wellness funding, per se, we pay for our nurses through the wellness funding. We pay for social work things through wellness funding. There's also career tech would go through that. So there's different categories that we have to account for and report back to the state on that. So this is the first month of that, and things have kind of come back more to normal for the remaining months of the school year. Other things in the revenue end, we started to receive the second part of the kindergarten tuition payment for the year, so we received nearly $100,000 in all the kindergarten tuition, along with about $24,000 for the preschool tuition. And the other revenue item of note is we received our second casino revenue payment for the year, close to $94,000, very similar to what we received back in August of $92,000. On the expenditure end, not a whole lot really to speak about. Everything's running actually below projection right now, which is good. So thus far for the fiscal year, our revenues are about $81,000 less than projected. Expenditures about $360,000 less. So we have a favorable variance of about $279,000 7 months into the fiscal year.
Thank you, Mr. Lawson. Exhibit D1 is a resolution to approve financial statements and reports. Chair rules, can I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Lawson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis, Mr. Akin,
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzey,
Yes.
Mrs. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Sabolsky.
Yes.
Exhibit D2 is a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor. I'll take a motion to second and review the response.
Okay, this resolution here, if you remember back at our organizational meeting, first thing we do to start the budgeting process is we do the alternative tax budget. From that, we turn that into the county, and on there we have our debt payments for the year and other revenues that we're expecting. From that, and from the tax duplicate, which comes out beginning of January, the county comes up with sets the rates for all of the different levies that we have. They send that to us. We pretty much, review it and make sure it kind of coincides with the tax budget and the board that approves it. If there would be something that we would disagree with, obviously we would contact the county auditor and go over it with them to see if there was an error on one side or the other. For instance, on their debt payments, if the millage wouldn't be ample to cover what we owe on debt payments, it would have to be a millage adjustment. And so what this is doing, the county auditor sends it to us. Now we are verifying and proving what they have sent to us. And so these would be the millage rates that would be tax effective for this particular tax year.
All right, are there any comments or questions? Mr. Lawson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Dolzey,
Yes.
Mr. Akin,
Yes.
Mrs. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Sabolsky,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis.
Yes.
That concludes our
Okay, thank you. Under new business, we have Exhibit 1 and Exhibit E1A, the resolution to accept gifts and contributions. From the Harmon High PTO, we have 20 standing desks for $200. Can I have a motion, please?
Moved.
Second. Mr. Olson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor,
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzey,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis,
Yes.
Mr. Akin,
Yes.
Mr. Sabolsky.
Yes.
All right, next we have a series of personnel items. I'm gonna take the first 8, because I want to have Mr. Roberto to comment on the 9th. Exhibit E1B1 is a resolution to accept resignations. Exhibit E1B2 is a resolution to employ licensed substitute teachers for the 21-22 school year. Exhibit E1B3 is a resolution to approve reclassification of licensed staff members. Exhibit E1B4 is a resolution to award administrator contracts. Exhibit E1B5 is a resolution to employ support staff substitutes. Resolution E1B6 is a resolution to award supplemental pupil activity contracts for non-district personnel. Exhibit E1B7 is a resolution to award supplemental contracts to district personnel. And Exhibit E1B8 is a resolution to employ support staff. May I have a motion, please, for those 8?
Move.
Second.
Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzy.
Yes.
Mrs. Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Aka.
Yes.
Mr. Sabolski.
Yes.
Okay, motions are approved. Exhibit E1B9 is a resolution to approve a job description and salary schedule for an assistant transportation supervisor, which Mr. Roberto has made us aware is needed in the district, which I just wanted to take a few seconds.
Absolutely. So Sal Arquilla is our Director of Facilities and Transportation. And that job description probably doesn't do justice to all the things that Sal does. He's part of transportation, he runs facilities, but also food services, custodial, and maintenance. And so stretched over 5 pretty major positions. We really felt like he needed to be able to have some help, especially as we grow in the form of facilities and buildings as we look forward down the road. So this is a position that we believe will help to alleviate some of that on the transportation side of things. So Sal can get into the buildings a little bit more and work with the custodial and maintenance folks.
Okay, thank you. So I will make a motion to approve that resolution. Can I have a second? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Aka.
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzy.
Yes.
Mrs. Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Sabolski.
Yes.
And then the last personnel issue is exhibit E1B10. It's a resolution to employ long-term substitute guidance counselor for the 21-22 school year. May I have a motion, please? Chair seconds. Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Aka.
Yes.
Mrs. Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Sapolsky.
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzy. Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes. Exhibit E1C is a resolution to approve summer academy fees. Are these all the same as?
Yes, they are the same as careers.
Can I have a motion, please?
Second.
Mr. Watson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Aka.
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzy.
Yes.
Mrs. Connor.
Yes.
Mr. Sabolski.
Yes.
Exhibit E1D is a resolution to approve emergency school closing. For 3 days, right? December 18th and February 34th. Can I have a motion for approval?
Move.
Second. Mr. Watson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor.
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzy.
Yes.
Mr. Sabolski.
Yes.
Mr. Aka.
Yes.
Exhibit E1C is a resolution to authorize membership in the Ohio High School Athletic Association, which I understand is something we do every year at this time.
Yes, this will be for the 22-23 school year.
Can I have a motion?
Move.
Chair seconds. Mr. Wilson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Dolzy.
Yes.
Mrs. Connor.
Yes.
Mrs. Gonzalez.
Yes.
Mr. Sabolski.
Yes.
Mr. Aka.
Yes.
Right, and the last resolution before us is Exhibit E1F. It's a resolution to approve contract for professional design services.
Yes, so our boiler at the high school, the heating for heating, is 1997, I believe, is the last time it was replaced. So it's on its last leg. And so this company will actually do the research and bidding on another company that will come in to tear it out and then replace it. We actually have 2 boiler systems going, so in case something would happen to one of them, that sort of thing. And this is the first step of that process, and gives them permission to go through and research all of that. And then once this is done, we're looking to have this actually take place this summer. And if all goes well, then we'll have it for this fall by August and be set for the next 25 or so years. It's a pretty big project. It's over a $200,000 system. It's awesome.
Question. Do they provide, I see they provide the design services and then all the bidding documents. Take us through that process. Do they also provide project management oversight so that we ensure that whoever is awarded the bid is doing things the way the specs?
Right, they'll review the bids, obviously, make the recommendation, and they will come out and do, job site visits to make sure things are going through, and they'll actually approve the payments to the contractor or contractors. So,
Go ahead.
This contract inclusive of that work, we're gonna be contractors when they're doing it, or will that be second or
No, this is the contract for that. And then the second contract will come out for the actual construction, providing of the boilers and construction.
Are there any fees that we need to also funds for, travel or whatnot?
There may be some minor things, but this is the major portion of it.
Anything else? Did we get a motion for that?
That we-
Yeah, motion please.
Sorry.
Mr. Golson, please call the roll.
Mr. Cebulski,
Yes.
Mrs. Connor,
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzey,
Yes,
Mrs. Mahalis.
Yes.
Mr. Aiken.
Yes.
We have no discussion items. Are there any board items? No, this is all. Can I have a meeting, a motion for adjournment?
Move.
Is there a second? Mr. Golson, please.
Mrs. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Aiken,
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski,
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis.
Yes.
Mrs. Dolzey.
yes.
Meeting is adjourned. I do, yeah.